Why do the most powerful souls walk alone? Because their energy can't be matched by just anyone. You weren't born to fit in, you were chosen to stand out. You are the healer in that room, the one people come to when their world is falling apart, the one who always carries gentle words, a steady presence, a light in someone else's storm. But here's a truth few ever speak. When you are the one who needs that light, when you are quietly breaking, almost no one truly sees it. You inspire others, you uplift them, you heal them, you listen, yet few have the capacity to hold that space for you. So, even when you're surrounded by people, you feel that lingering ache of solitude, because the depth within you, few can touch, and the knowing you carry, few can withstand. This isn't random loneliness, but a sacred solitude for those who bear light, who need space just to exist. Because not everyone can sit still with your truth without ultimately turning away. Today, we step into that quiet truth. Why the chosen ones, the deeply sensitive, the profound, the bearers of light, often feel alone even in a crowd. Your energy is radiant, not the kind of sparkle that craves attention, but a quiet, grounding light, the kind of presence that makes people feel like they can finally breathe, finally come home. But your light doesn't just attract, it also unknowingly draws in wounds. People come to you not because they know who you are, but because they can feel something, that just by being near you they start to heal. And so, you become the keeper of other people's pain. You listen, you understand, you hold space. And slowly, bit by bit, your energy gets pulled away from you. You don't blame them. You know, they're not doing it out of malice, they're just thirsty, and you've become the water. But if it goes on too long, you begin to run dry, and when you're empty, very few notice, because they've grown used to receiving from you, but never learned how to give back. So, eventually, you step away, not out of anger, not out of resentment, but as an act of self-preservation. This is what the bearers of light must learn. Not everyone who needs you is worthy of your presence, not because you're better than them, but because you cannot heal anyone if you've got nothing left to give. After enough withdrawals, you begin to realize not everyone is meant to stay in your life. Not because they're bad people, but because they no longer resonate with your frequency. Light bearers live by vibration, and vibration doesn't lie. The more you heal, the deeper you go, the more sensitive you become to what no longer aligns. A glance, a word, even the slightest inauthentic energy. You feel it instantly. It's not about being picky. It's the purity of frequency you're beginning to embody. And so, you come to understand. The right connection will never arrive early. It's not found through searching. It arrives through readiness on both sides. The one who's meant for you, the one who can listen without needing to fix, who can walk beside you without trying to own you. They too are being prepared somewhere out there, also walking their healing path, also learning to stand in their own light. And when both souls are steady, the universe lets their lights meet. Not to complete each other, not out of need, but out of choice, to walk together, free and freely chosen. That kind of love, it's never rushed. And you don't need to rush either, because what arrives in divine timing is always what's meant to stay. Even though the right relationship is being prepared, there will always be a silence before you're ready to receive it. That silence, it isn't because you're too picky. It's because your heart has bled before. Old wounds, whether from family, friendship, or love, don't just leave memories. They leave behind barriers. You've learned to smile without opening your heart. You've grown used to pulling back, even when your heart longs to move forward, not because you don't want connection, but because you're afraid of trading your peace for pain again. Loss of trust doesn't come from a single heartbreak. It's built through the repetition of being abandoned when you were most genuine. So the solitude you choose now, it's not avoidance. It's a sacred phase of deep, silent healing. You need time to trust again, not just to trust others, but to trust yourself. That you are strong enough to love without losing yourself. That you can choose love again, without betraying your own soul. And you know what? Even if you're not ready to trust anyone yet, start with this. You deserve to be loved with the same fullness you once gave away. After all the wounds and doubts, you might find yourself asking, why am I still alone even though my heart is finally ready? The answer may lie deeper than you think. You are not being abandoned. You are being prepared. This loneliness right now isn't an empty space, it's God's quiet forge. He's refining you, your will, your heart, to make you strong enough to carry something greater. A purpose you may not fully see yet, but your soul has always known. To hear that calling clearly, you must be pulled away from the noise of the world, away from distractions, away from half-hearted connections, so you can return to the deepest aim of your spirit. Because when you live close to your soul, you can no longer accept the shallow. You can't fake a smile when your heart is tired. You can't say, "I'm fine," when your soul is breaking. You crave truth, you crave depth, and that makes you different. You see what others try to avoid. You sense the falsehood behind a compliment. You hear the insecurity in an offhand remark. Your depth unsettles people, not because you try to expose them, but because your soul is just that deep. And if you must choose between loneliness and living a shallow life, you choose solitude, because at least in truth, you still belong to yourself. And if you find yourself in the middle of this journey, where everything feels too quiet, where old relationships no longer align, and new connections have yet to arrive, take a deep breath, because you are not lost, you are being led. God is not in a hurry, the universe is not rushing, and your soul, it's unfolding, gently, slowly, to touch something beyond anything you've ever imagined. Loneliness is not a sign you've strayed off course. It's evidence that you're being set apart, prepared for something greater. And one day, when you're no longer searching, when you are full within yourself, that person, those people, will arrive on the frequency your soul has finally tuned into. They won't make you forget who you are. They'll help you remember. Until that day, live in your light, even if no one sees it yet. Because true light doesn't need a crowd. It only needs to be honest and unwavering.